Madam Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Bernanke, for being here, Chairman Bernanke. And I will tell you, I just was in my state last week, and we have about a 7.3 unemployment rate, so it's a little better than the national average. And despite all the struggles, there are some glimmers of hope there, which I know you see with all of your number crunching. DigiKey in Thief River Falls, Minnesota, population 7,500, has 2,500 employees, and they're hiring 400. So anyone that wants to come there should see me for the break. So we have some glimmers of hope. And what I wanted to talk to you about where I see as a potential limitation on our recovery, and that is the debt. And I appreciate you speaking out on that. A number of us actually held out our votes on the budget and lifting the debt cap we wouldn't do it without a promise that we were going to get an up and down vote on that debt commission. I was very distraught that some of our colleagues changed their votes, didn't do it, and then the president appointed one. Could you talk about the importance of getting something done on the debt in the long term for our markets and for our economy, and why something like this debt commission, if we can get some practical recommendations that we can have an up and down vote on, is so important?
Well, it has direct implications for the health of our economy, and maybe not even just in the long run. I mean, in the long run, of course, if we have higher interest rates, that's going to reduce investment, that's going to reduce capital formation, growth, and job creation. It's going to mean we have to borrow more from abroad, which also means a heavier burden on our children to pay back. So those are the classic problems. But I think worse than that is that right now the markets are essentially signaling a lot of confidence that our political system will deliver a sustainable trajectory of fiscal policy going, into the next few decades. And I think it's, very encouraging in a sense that we can borrow at 30 years at 4% or 4% plus.
And part of that, you believe, is because they believe we're actually going to do something about it.
And they believe we're going to do it. And I think,
and if we don't do something about it,
if we don't do it, or we give a strong indication we're not going to be able to do it,
okay,
then it would not be something that we have to worry about in 2040. It could be something we have to worry about on Wednesday, because it could happen that markets would lose confidence. And again, I want to draw a strong distinction between the United States economy and our fiscal position and that of some other countries. But we've seen around the world just recently a number of countries who have come under pressure because of loss of confidence in their resolve or ability to address these problems. Now, that doesn't mean we have to balance the budget tomorrow, but it does mean we have to have a plan and a credible process of some kind in the medium term to show that we can manage these difficult problems. And they are very, very difficult. You have all my sympathy because they're extremely hard politically and intellectually to solve. How to do it, I think the commission will be interesting to see what they come up with. It's actually a very good commission.
It is.
A lot of very good people on that.
Right. And that's why I think I want to move on to one other question, but I think this idea that we just put our heads in the sand is just not going to work in the long term, is your point. And that's why I hope my colleagues take seriously on both sides of the aisle the recommendations of this commission. It doesn't just become a study on a shelf. My second focus here, and you and I have discussed small business lending, and I know some of my colleagues have discussed that with you and how important, I believe, I've been working with Mark Warner on that proposal. The second thing is just these latest proposals by Chairman Dodd to look at taking back some of the power from the regional Federal Reserves. We have one in Minneapolis very close to my state office, and we found it actually to be helpful. What you think of that proposal? And then second, the other concern I've heard a lot is from our small community banks, the proposal to limit your supervision to banks that have more than $50 billion in assets. Again, our community banks are not big fans of that proposal either, and I'd like to hear your perceptions of this proposal to limit to consolidate the Fed power away from regionals, and then also to take the community banks out from under the Federal Reserve.
No, we're very concerned. I mean, we understand we need to play a role with the large institutions as part of a process of trying to keep our financial system stable. But it would be, I think, a very bad outcome if we were to lose all connection with the small and medium-sized banks where we currently supervise state member banks and bank holding companies around the country. First of all, that provides us a great deal of useful information about what's happening out there in the country, about small business loans, about credit, about the local economy. It gives us a perspective on the whole financial system, on the whole economy. We don't want to just be looking at Wall Street. We need to look at the whole economy. and not only for monetary policy purposes, but also for financial stability purposes. Small banks, medium-sized banks can be part of a financial crisis too, as they were, for example, during the thrift crisis or during the Great Depression or Penn Square in 1982, and there are many other examples. So for both, because we want to have that connection with the rest of the economy, and because both monetary policy and financial stability require we have a broad view of the entire banking system, we think it's very important that we maintain that connection. Now, we're not asking for new powers. We're asking just that the status quo be maintained so that the Fed has the ability to supervise and have a strong connection with small and medium-sized banks as well as the very largest banks.
And the idea of the regional Federal Reserves?
And the regional Federal Reserves are, in fact, our ears to the ground. They're where the actual supervisors reside, and they do the operational work, and they have those local connections, as you well know. And Washington is where the policy is set and where the overall accountability flows from. But we rely very heavily on those eyes and ears around the country to get that feedback.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.